If you guys watch football, then you're probably familiar with the name Puka Nacua. But prior to his rookie season, not a lot of people knew who he was. So how did he manage to flip the script? How did this kid who got drafted in the 5th round become one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and have one of the best rookie seasons in league history? We're about to find out. So Puka was raised in Provo, Utah by parents of Samoan descent, and the name Puka actually is a term in Samoan that means chubby or fat, and that's a nickname that his grandma gave him when he was a kid, and he's just been using that name ever since, so everyone knows him as Puka Nacua. So growing up, his dad was really pushing them into sports. If I'm not mistaken, Puka has 5 brothers and 1 sister, so a lot of kids. Now Puka's dad was a wrestler, but he was pushing his sons more into football. Football was a really big thing in their family. They would always gather around on Sundays and watch all the football games. Now Puka and his mom both mentioned that when he was a kid, he wouldn't really watch cartoons. He would just jump on ESPN and just watch a bunch of highlights, just watch football highlights and whatnot. And his dad was a really big fan of Lawrence Taylor, all that like aggressive, like old school, like toughness football. And that's something that he really tried to instill in his kids. So Puka started playing football in school, but unfortunately at the age of 11, right before his 12th birthday, his dad Lionel passed away and his mom Penina was left to raise the kids as best she could. So Puka decided to use football as a platform, as a way to like express himself, as a way to like stay close to his dad, remember his dad, because his dad was, like I said, really big on football and was really pushing all of them into sports. So he kind of wanted to make his dad proud in a sense, and he just used it as an outlet to handle his grief a little bit better. Now a few of Puka's brothers actually did follow their dad's advice and accomplished what their dad had intended for them. Kai Nacua made it to the NFL, Samson Nacua made it to the NFL, and Tay Nacua recently signed with BYU if I'm not mistaken, and now we're about to find out how Puka made it to the league. So in high school he was playing both basketball and football, but football was obviously his main focus. Now in his freshman year he didn't do anything crazy. He had 23 receptions for over 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now in his sophomore year, that's where he really flipped the script. He doubled his reception totals and he got close to 1,000 receiving yards with 5 touchdowns. Now if you guys thought that Puka was doing well at this point, in his junior year he got even better. He almost doubled his numbers again, so he had 87 receptions with close to 1,700 receiving yards and a crazy 24 touchdowns. And Orem High School ended up winning the state championship for the first time since 1994. Now in his senior year, things got even crazier. It's so funny, like every single year he's putting up almost like double the numbers that he put up the previous season. So in his senior year, he went for 103 receptions with over 2,300 receiving yards and 26 receiving touchdowns. And those 2,300 receiving yards were 200 yards more than the person in 2nd place. So he ended up breaking a bunch of records that season, won a bunch of awards, including the Gatorade Player of the Year. And Orem ended up winning the championship again. So they went back to back, and this led to a bunch of college offers and a bunch of college attention for the young Puka Nacua. And after originally committing to USC, he decided to switch to Washington University. Honestly, in Washington, he didn't really do anything exceptional. He had a total of 7 receptions for not even 200 receiving yards and like 2 touchdowns, and he ended up missing a bunch of games because of a broken foot. And in his sophomore year, because of the shortened season, he only played 3 games, had a total of 9 receptions with again under 200 receiving yards and only the 1 receiving touchdown. Now after the season, Puka and his family found out that his grandmother unfortunately had cancer, so him and his brother both decided to transfer over to his hometown college, BYU, to be closer to her in these trying times. Unfortunately, his grandmother did end up passing away, but at least he was there with her through it all. Now since he transferred to BYU, things got a lot better for him compared to Washington. In his first year at BYU, he was playing with his brother Samson, cool enough, who was in his last year at BYU, and Puka went for 43 receptions with just over 800 yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. Now at his final year in college, his numbers in terms of receiving yards did drop a little bit. He had 48 receptions for a total of 600 some yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. And although he had an amazing performance in high school, his college numbers weren't anything crazy, so like he didn't really get a bunch of hype around the NFL draft. Once he declared for a draft, there wasn't really a lot of talk about him, and he wasn't projected to go anywhere high in the draft. Now add to the fact that at the combine he didn't really do anything crazy either. He didn't really stand out in any particular way. Puka Nacua was selected 177th overall in the 5th round by the Los Angeles Rams. Now where things get interesting is that during that offseason, during that training camp, Cooper Kupp had a hamstring injury, so he wasn't really able to practice with the team, and he wasn't expected to start the season either. So that being said, Puka really stood out at practice. In the training camps he did really good. Now on top of that, his 3 receptions for 32 yards and a receiving touchdown impressed Coach McVay. All that put together earned him a spot in the starting lineup for week 1. Now week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks, Puka Nacua had a really good game. He had 10 receptions for 119 receiving yards, and although he didn't have any receiving touchdowns, he made some really good runs and some really good catches that impressed a lot of people in his NFL debut. So what did Puka decide to do? He decided to take it up a notch. In week 2 against the 49ers, he had 15 receptions for 149 yards, again no receiving touchdowns, but his 15 receptions broke an NFL record for the most receptions in a game by an NFL rookie. On top of that, he became the first NFL rookie to have 10 plus receptions and 100 plus receiving yards in his first 2 NFL games. Now his success continued in week 4 against the Colts, where he had 9 receptions for 163 yards, including his very first NFL touchdown, which happened to be a game winner in overtime.
Puka will be the first option for Matthew Stafford. Third down and 4. Stafford throws. There he is. Nacua to the end zone. Rams win.
Now, Puka said that he wasn't really accustomed to the NFL rules because he thought that the game would continue after he scored a touchdown in overtime, but that was it. He just won the game for his team, so he just tossed the ball into the crowd, not realizing that they had won the game. So as you guys probably already heard, and as you probably already figured, he ended the season with amazing numbers. He had 105 receptions for 1,486 receiving yards, which was most all-time by an NFL rookie in his rookie season. Now, because of this, the Puka Nacua hype was insane. Now, with a catchy name and a really good personality, Puka Nacua was able to win the hearts of NFL fans across the country and managed to get his shirts sold out on the NFL shop. Now, because of his contributions, the Rams were able to make it to the playoffs, and their first game was against the Lions in the wild card, which was a really big game because it was a playoff game featuring Matt Stafford and Jared Goff, who were going head-to-head against their former teams. So the hype was real for this one. Unfortunately, they did lose the game 24-23, but despite all that, the Rams played really good. Matthew Stafford completed 25 of 36 throws for 367 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Puka Nacua had 9 receptions for 181 yards and 1 receiving touchdown, which was the most yards in a playoff game by an NFL rookie all time. Now, you guys are probably thinking he definitely won Rookie of the Year that season, right? But no, he didn't. He finished second place just behind CJ Stroud, who I made a video about last week, so if you haven't watched that, go check it out. But yeah, honestly, if I lose to CJ, I wouldn't be mad about it either. It is what it is. Honestly, despite all that, Puka had an amazing NFL rookie season. He made it to his first Pro Bowl, got selected to the second team All-Pro, and finished number 33rd in the NFL Top 100. And what distinguishes Puka from a lot of other people is his toughness. So the toughness is something that his dad instilled in them all as a kid from a really young age. And toughness is really something that describes Puka amazingly well, I find. He's a really nice guy in person. I've watched interviews with him and he honestly has amazing energy. He's one of the funnest players in the league, and like honestly, I just love watching young players like that just ball out, like be good at what they do, and on top of that, be super nice guys and super friendly. Like, it's amazing. So contrary to some players in the NFL in the offseason who typically just tend to rest or like recover or whatnot, Puka decided to grind. He got even closer to Cooper Kupp, and that really helped him elevate his game. So they were training together the entire offseason, and obviously Kupp being one of the best wide receivers in the NFL at the moment, he had a lot of things to teach Puka and Kupp. It's just confusing sometimes, my bad. And what Cooper said that he likes about Puka is that he's always asking questions. He's always looking to develop his game. He's always looking to get better. So during the offseason, Cooper Kupp put him through an intense workout. So intense that during their first workout, Puka ended up throwing up because it was that intense. He was pushing him that much.
I flew back to California, showed up to Coop's house for the workout, and like I barfed all over his lawn like that the first day of workouts. And Coop was like, yeah, like we're gonna acclimate ourselves, we're gonna warm up into it. So I'm like, Coach, we're acclimating ourselves, and I just lost 17 pounds at our first workout. I don't know how well we're gonna acclimate it, but
those high standards that Kupp was setting for him are honestly really helpful, and that's exactly what young players need to develop themselves and to become an elite player in their categories. So shout out to Cooper Kupp for mentoring him like that. Now fast forward to the 2024 NFL season. Week 1 against the Lions, Puka didn't really put up any crazy numbers. He had 4 receptions for 35 yards, but unfortunately he did suffer a knee injury that he was kind of dealing with during the offseason. So during week 1, when he was making a catch and going down to the ground, he suffered what's called a PCL strain. PCL is a part of your knee, I guess. So he sprained down and was forced to miss a couple of games, unfortunately. He did make a comeback in week 8 against the Vikings, a game that they ended up winning, and Puka had 7 receptions for 106 yards. But unfortunately, he injured his knee at practice not long after that, and he didn't have to miss any games, but like obviously it was still something that was bothering him. And then week 9 rematch against my Seahawks, he ended up throwing a punch during the game. I think it was against Kobe Bryant, whatever. He was like running his mouth to him or something. I don't know what happened exactly, but he ended up throwing a punch and got ejected from the game, obviously. So it was a little bit of a different season for Puka. He did end up missing a total of 6 games throughout the season, but he did finish the season with good numbers, just under 80 receptions for just under 1,000 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. This led to the Rams finishing on top of their division at a 10-7 record and secured them a spot in the wild card against the Vikings. Now last week against the Vikings, honestly it was just a blowout. I was watching the game, and although Puka only had 5 receptions for 44 yards, the Rams completely dominated the Vikings. They had a total of 9 sacks that game, and honestly Sam Darnold some of it, yes, was the fact that their O-line wasn't offering much protection, but Sam Darnold just Just get rid of the ball, bro. Just get rid of the ball. This guy was taking sacks left and right. 9 total sacks, which was tied for an NFL record in a playoff game. Insane. Now, the Rams are playing in the divisional series on Sunday at 3 p.m. against the Eagles. Now, earlier this season in Week 12, they did lose to the Eagles, final score being 37-20, and Saquon Barkley cooked them that day. Saquon Barkley single-handedly smoked the entire team. He had a total of 300 yards, 255 of those coming from the rush. LA was not able to stop their run game at all. The Eagles, in their first playoff game against the Packers, they did end up winning the game, but honestly, like, it wasn't, aside from Saquon, like, no one really had a good game. Jalen Hurts didn't really put up any good numbers. The receivers didn't put up any good numbers. AJ Brown did basically nothing the entire game. So the Eagles aren't looking too hot, but I'm gonna be interested to see how this game unfolds. I wonder if Saquon's gonna have a repeat of what he had in Week 12. But regardless, it's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be sick. I'm excited to watch it, and I hope you guys are gonna be tuning into that as well. Now, Puka Nacua, he's a rising star in the NFL. He's one of the best wide receivers at the moment, and he's only in his second year. Now, training with Cooper Kupp and catching passes from Matthew Stafford definitely helps, and this probably is going to be the theme for a long time to come. I'm honestly really excited to see what Puka can do with the rest of his career. He's one of the hottest players at the moment, and watching him every single game is just so fun. I find it so interesting that such a nice guy off the field can be so tough on the field. Like, he's a dog when he's on the field. He's a dog. Now, toughness, like I said before, is something that his dad instilled in him since he was a kid, and I know his dad is watching him right now, really proud of what he was able to achieve so far in his career, and it's only been 2 years. Now, Puka's a really big family man. His mom comes to watch him at games. He's a super nice guy. His brothers are in the league, so it's just good vibes all around, and we need more of these players, especially at these trying times, especially in LA with everything that's going on with the wildfires and whatnot. So for the people of LA, having that little bright side definitely helps a lot, definitely goes a long way. So I wish them all the best in this upcoming game, and I wish Puka all the best with his career, and I'm excited to see what he can do. That's gonna be it for today's video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you guys want your favorite player featured on the next video, make sure to leave it in the comments, and we'll get to that ASAP. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of the NFL playoffs. I'll see you next week.